He thought his gift was a curse until he uncovered the truth about her fiancé. What he saw will haunt you forever. Watch till the end to discover the shocking twist that changed everything. The storm came without warning. Dark clouds rolled over the village of Umuoba, swallowing the light of the moon. Rain began to fall, first in hesitant drops and then in torrents, drenching the red earth. Thunder cracked in the sky, rattling windows and shaking the very air. Inside a small mud brick house, Ada screamed. Her contractions came fast and hard, leaving no time for breath. She clung to the bedpost, her knuckles white, her face glistening with sweat. Chijioke, her husband, hovered nearby, helplessly pacing. "The midwives should be here by now," Chijioke muttered. He leaned toward the door, peering into the rain as though he could summon them with sheer will. "Where are they?" Ada's voice cut through his panic. "Chijioke, I can't wait. This baby is coming now." A deafening crack of lightning split the night, followed by a crash of thunder that seemed to shake the house. Just then, the door burst open, and the midwives entered, soaked and breathless. They carried their bags and moved swiftly to Ada's side, taking charge of the room. "Push, Ada," the eldest midwife urged, her voice calm but firm. "Push with all your strength." Ada screamed again, gripping the sheets as the storm outside grew fiercer. The flickering lantern cast shadows that danced across the walls, long and distorted. The power flickered, then cut out entirely, plunging the room into near darkness. The baby's first cry pierced the storm. Relief washed over Ada as she collapsed back onto the bed. The midwife held up the newborn, smiling softly, before her expression turned uneasy. She hesitated before handing the baby to Ada. "He's here," the midwife whispered, but her voice held no joy. Ada cradled her son, her tears of exhaustion mixing with joy. But when she looked into his eyes, her smile faltered. The baby's gaze was wide and unblinking, far too alert for a newborn. It was as if he wasn't looking at her, but through her, beyond her. Ada shivered, turning her head to follow his line of sight. There was nothing there, but the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. "Why is he crying so much?" Chijioke asked. The baby's cries had grown louder, sharper, echoing unnaturally in the small room. His tiny body trembled with each wail, as if his cries carried a weight no child should bear. The midwives exchanged uneasy glances. One muttered a prayer under her breath. "Some children," she said hesitantly, "are born with differences. Be watchful." Another crack of lightning split the sky, illuminating the room in a flash of stark light. Outside, a tree near the house splintered in two, its branches crashing to the ground. The storm roared on. The cries did not stop. They continued through the night, into the next day, and the days after that. Ada and Chijioke tried everything: feeding, rocking, even wrapping the baby in herbs blessed by the village healer. Nothing soothed him. His wails filled the house, leaving no room for rest. Ada, sleep-deprived and desperate, paced the house with the baby in her arms. She hummed lullabies, her voice trembling with exhaustion, but the cries continued. Chijioke sat at the table, his head in his hands. He hadn't slept in days either. "We can't go on like this," Ada said, her voice breaking. "Something's wrong with him, Chijioke." "I know it." Chijioke nodded grimly. "We'll take him to the hospital tomorrow." The doctor examined the baby thoroughly, checking his heart, lungs, and reflexes. After a long pause, he looked up and smiled. "Your son is perfectly healthy," he said. "There's nothing wrong with him." Ada frowned. "But he cries all the time, day and night. He doesn't stop." The doctor shrugged. "Some babies are like that. He'll grow out of it." But Ikenna didn't grow out of it. The crying continued, relentless as the tides, and soon strange things began happening in the house. Shadows flickered in corners where no light should reach. Doors creaked open on their own. A cold breeze swept through rooms, chilling Ada to her bones. Even the family dog refused to enter the house, growling and barking at the threshold. One night, Ada woke to find Ikenna staring at the ceiling, his tiny hands reaching towards something unseen. His cries had stopped, replaced by soft giggles. Ada's heart pounded as she followed his gaze. The shadows on the ceiling seemed to shift, forming the outline of a face before melting back into darkness. "Chijioke," Ada whispered, clutching the baby tightly. "Something isn't right." The church was their last hope. Pastor Obinna, known for his powerful prayers, held Ikenna in his arms and began to pray. His voice filled the church, commanding and sure, but as the prayer grew stronger, so did Ikenna's cries. They rose to a deafening pitch, echoing off the walls. The pastor stopped abruptly, his face pale. He handed the baby back to Ada, his hands trembling slightly. "This child," he said, his voice low, "is not ordinary. He is a seer." Ada frowned. "A seer? What does that mean?" "He sees beyond this world," the pastor replied, "into the realm of spirits. This is a gift, but it is also a burden. Spirits will seek him out, and his path will not be easy. You must guide him carefully, protect him." Ada clutched Ikenna tightly. "But how can we protect him from what we don't understand?" The pastor's gaze was solemn. "Pray and trust that he was given this gift for a reason." As Ikenna grew, his gift became more apparent. By the age of 7, he began talking to people who weren't there. Ada often found him sitting cross-legged on the floor, laughing and chatting with invisible companions. "Who are you talking to?" she asked one day, her voice cautious. "My friend," Ikenna replied cheerfully. "He says his name is Uncle Dyke." Ada froze. Uncle Dyke was Chijioke's brother, who had died years before Ikenna was born. She retrieved an old photograph and showed it to him. "That's him," Ikenna said, pointing. "He says he misses you." It wasn't just Uncle Dyke. Ikenna began seeing strangers, wandering spirits with hollow eyes who whispered to him, begging for help. He cried often, saying, "They're angry with me." Other times, he laughed at jokes only he could hear. The villagers noticed. Other children avoided Ikenna, calling him weird and crazy. Parents whispered behind Ada's back, warning their children to stay away. Ikenna withdrew, spending most of his time alone. But even in solitude, the spirits were always there, watching, whispering. At 17, Ikenna had learned to live with his gift. He avoided eye contact with the spirits, ignored their whispers, and pretended not to see the shadowy figures that followed him. But one evening, as he walked home from school, a dark figure emerged from the trees. Its hollow eyes glowed faintly, and its voice was low and cold. "They are coming for her," it said. "Only you can stop it." Ikenna stumbled back, fear etched into his face. "Who?" he whispered. "Who's coming?" But the figure vanished, leaving only the echo of its voice behind. The next day, Amara, his childhood friend, ran up to him, her face glowing with excitement. "I'm engaged," she announced, holding up a glittering ring. "His name is Chidi. He's perfect." Ikenna forced a smile, but unease churned in his stomach. When he met Chidi at the engagement party, his fears were confirmed. Beneath Chidi's charming smile and polished manners, Ikenna saw a dark aura, a shadow that twisted and writhed like a living thing. Ikenna began to notice other things. At the market, a vendor collapsed after shaking Chidi's hand. Amara started forgetting things, plans she made with Ikenna, her mother's birthday. Her once bright demeanor dimmed, replaced by moments of eerie detachment. Desperate, Ikenna visited Mama Ebele, a reclusive spiritualist. She listened to his story with a grave expression, then handed him an ancient mirror. "This is the mirror of truth," she said. "It will reveal his true form. But beware, the mirror's power comes at a price." The day of the wedding arrived. Guests gathered, the air buzzing with excitement. Amara walked down the aisle, radiant in her bridal gown. Chidi stood at the altar, his smile unnervingly perfect. Ikenna burst into the ceremony, clutching the glowing mirror. "Stop!" he shouted. "Look at him!" The guests turned, murmuring in confusion. Ikenna raised the mirror, and the room fell silent. The light from the mirror intensified, casting a beam onto Chidi. Gasps rippled through the crowd as his reflection shifted. His true form was skeletal, his eyes black pits, his shadow twisting violently. Chidi's voice deepened, turning guttural. "You dare challenge me, Seer?" The crowd, frightened and confused, began to turn on Ikenna. "That mirror is cursed," someone yelled. Chidi seized the moment, declaring, "He seeks to ruin this day. Destroy him." But Ikenna stood firm, calling on the spirits of his ancestors. They appeared in glowing forms, surrounding Chidi. A fierce battle ensued. Chidi lunged for Amara, his claws extending, but Ikenna blocked him, shattering the mirror in a burst of light. As the dust settled, Amara approached Ikenna, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't believe you." Ikenna nodded, his expression heavy with exhaustion. As he turned to leave, faint whispers filled the air. Chidi's voice echoed in his mind. "This isn't over, Seer." Ikenna froze, his eyes scanning the horizon. The shadows seemed to shift, and for the first time, he felt truly alone. Thank you for watching and joining us on this incredible journey. Be sure to explore more of our stories on the channel or click on the next video YouTube recommends. If this story touched your heart, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more captivating African tales. Don't forget to tap the notification bell to stay connected to the wisdom and beauty of these stories. Until next time, stay blessed and keep shining.